They had no iron, no gunpowder, no steel, yet they shaped the whole world with their hands and their will. They invented the wheel, they invented the law, the most brilliant minds that the ancient world saw. And the story of how they did it? Better than you think. Legends and rhyme are about to pull you from the brink. 5,000 years back, between two rivers wide, where the Tigris and Euphrates flowed side by side, a people arose from the marshes and clay, and they built what no human had built to that day. But who were these people, and where did they come from? The answer will leave even history struck dumb. The Sumerians had no mountain, no wall, no defense, just flatlands and floods, and a heat that was dense. So they drained all the marshes and channeled the streams, and turned barren desert into farmers' wildest dreams. And then they built cities, real cities, and wait till you hear what was inside them. In Uruk and Ur and in Eridu's shade, the world's very first urban centers were made, with tens of thousands of people all living as one, a civilization born under the merciless sun. They needed to count all the grain and the trade, so they pressed little symbols in clay with a blade. That system of marks was the first written word, the earliest language that humans transferred. Writing, 5,000 years old, and it started with taxes. Yes, really. They tracked all their cattle, their silver and wheat, on tablets of clay baked hard in the heat. From counting to stories, from numbers to gods, they wrote down their world against impossible odds. And speaking of numbers, here is something to know. They counted in 60s, not 10s, long ago. That system still lives in the minutes you keep, in the seconds you count, and the angles you sweep. Every time you check the time, you are using Sumerian math. Let that sink in. Their schools were called tablet houses, hard and severe, where boys copied lessons for year after year. They memorized lists of the gods and the stars, of medicines, metals, of Venus and Mars. They built ziggurats rising like mountains of brick, each layer a stairway to heaven, each thick. The priests at the top would commune with the sky, while thousands below watched their prayers rise high. They brewed the first beer from the barley they grew, with hymns to the goddess Ninkasi they knew. A recipe carved into stone 4 millennia past, the oldest known brewery, and far from the last. Oh, and they also wrote the world's oldest story, and it hits harder than most novels today. The Epic of Gilgamesh, carved into stone, of a king who feared death and refused to die alone. He journeyed through darkness and over the sea, searching for something that no one can ever be free. He sought out immortal life, yet he failed in the end, and came home with wisdom instead of a trend. 4,000 years later, we still read that tale of how even the mightiest heroes can fail. But while they were writing poems, someone else was sharpening swords. Around 2,300 years before our day, a conqueror named Sargon of Akkad held sway. He swept through the city-states, village by town, and tore the Sumerian city-states down. The Sumerians bowed, but their culture lived on, their language, their writing, their gods, and their song. The Akkadians borrowed and copied and learned, and kept all the knowledge the Sumerians earned. But Sumer was not finished yet, not even close. 100 years passed, and the power returned. The third dynasty rose, and the old cities burned. With revival, not fire, as temples were raised, and scribes filled new tablets, while history was praised. The kings of this era built law into stone. Not Hammurabi first, as we usually are shown, but Ur-Nammu before him had codified right, and said every widow and orphan had rights in his sight. The world's first written law code, and its first principle was protecting the weak. Think about that. They mapped out the heavens with careful precision and linked every planet to gods by decision. Their star charts became what the Greeks used for years. Their constellations still ride through our skies and our fears. They knew of a flood, of a great ark of wood, of one righteous man who alone understood that the gods sent the waters to wash the earth clean. Sound familiar? It was written long before the Galilean scene. The Bible's flood story had a Sumerian original, and the Sumerian version is older by 1,000 years. Then the Amorites came from the desert and sand, and the cities grew quiet across all the land. The last Sumerian kings fell to silence and dust, and the language itself slowly faded as it must. No child grew up speaking Sumerian at home. It became what the priests used, like classical Rome, a sacred dead language preserved in the clay that scholars would dig from the earth one fine day. Dead for 2,000 years, and then archaeologists showed up with shovels in the 1800s, and what they found changed everything. The tablets they found numbered into the millions, of households and harvests and gods and civilians. We know more about Sumer than Caesar's own Rome, because clay never burns, and clay always comes home. They gave us the wheel and the arch and the plow, the concept of schools, of the calendar now, of 60-based math and of organized trade, of everything modern humanity made. So next time you drive on a road late at night, or check your wristwatch for the minutes to midnight, remember the people of clay and of reed, who planted in history the most powerful seed. The Sumerians are gone, but their legend remains, in the tablets and ruins and civilized chains of all that we are and all that we know. And legends in rhyme will keep watching it grow. If this story has lit up a fire in your mind, then smash that subscribe button. Leave a comment behind. Hit like on this video and share it around, for the legends of history deserve to be found.